Hey, everybody, it's your Common Sense editorial team. I'm Tanner. That's Bianca. Every week, we have banners for this. Let me run them. There we go. Every Tuesday, we have a new tool you should check out that we've reviewed over on commonsense.org/education. Today, Bianca's got something she wants to showcase to us. So what is that?
I do. It is CBC Kids News. Is it up on the screen, Tanner?
It is.
Nice. Alrighty. So here is our review on commonsense.org. We have our learning rating here, which is pretty high, even though we're not going to focus on the rating per se. We're going to dig into what the site has to offer. So it is a free website that offers kids news by kids, which is what makes it really cool. I'll show you a little bit of what the site looks like here, and then we'll dig into it. But these are some of the contributors at one point who actually write the articles that are really enticing and relevant for kids. You'll see it's really colorful, vibrant, relevant. Every time I look at it, I kind of start digging around into it, which is a pretty good indicator of the news stories being really interesting. They're real news stories that are reliable. So they've already been vetted. You don't have to worry about that. And if there is one drawback to the site, it's that there aren't too many or any really lessons or templates for teachers to use, but there are a few somewhat interactive elements, which we'll get into in a bit. So here's what the site looks like today. Something that's really special about this site is all of the different topics that it breaks down into. While it's geared towards kids, it also has some really inclusive elements to it. So here we have like Black History Month, which I'll get to in a sec. But there's also these sections for like good news, weird news, things that are just exciting for kids to see, animals, gaming, sports, things that are relevant, but also from a diverse range of perspectives, and then cover a diverse range of topics, which is dope. So here, Black History Month. All right. So these are all current stories. A lot of them feature kids themselves. So let's see. Why kids want more Black history in schools. There's some about like kids who have done really amazing things. 10-year-olds starts sock business, helps charity along the way. So a lot of them are really based on kids' accomplishments and cool things that they're up to, which is really fun. There's something. So these are kind of sourcing opinions from students, which is interesting. What the site does, they beg these questions. Okay, do you think about how much your food costs? Tell us why or why not. And then students are asked to watch a video about it if they'd like, and then respond with their opinion. And then bi-weekly, I believe it is, they put up responses from students that are pretty much anonymous. They say, the kid's first name and their age, and then their opinion on the topic, which is pretty cool. Any thoughts so far, Tanner?
What was the grade range again on this one?
Let's see. So we are over at 5 to 12.
Okay. Yeah. So it kind of extends from kids to teens.
Mm-hmm.
So they're covering a pretty wide swath on the site, which is definitely handy.
Right. And so you can actually see some of the contributors here. They swapped them out. As you see, they were different from when we just did the review really recently. But they tell you a little bit about each student, which I find pretty inspiring. Like you have an 8th grader here, students who are in 12th grade, and it tells you a little bit about what they do behind the scenes. Like some of them have their own businesses. They contribute to different types of volunteer programs. So I think that's pretty sweet. And another thing that they have is you can actually invite the students, the contributors, to speak to your classroom over Zoom. So here you have signups where you can pick a slot and essentially have one of the students talk to your class, which I think is a nice interactive element. What are your thoughts on that, Tanner?
This is a Canadian site. So I do wonder like about opportunities like that, if they do extend to the United States and beyond. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts on how the news fits in to broader context. Is it really Is there a lot of the news focused just on Canadian concerns, or does it extend more broadly?
Yeah, no, it does extend more broadly. Like every now and then you'll see something that is I would say exclusive to Canada or based in Canada. But for the most part, it's a range of things just happening around the US. This is something that's pretty new, or at least I didn't see it the last time that we looked at this, which is having quizzes on the news, like recent reports. Where is the quiz here? But it's not graded. It's more just to, for fun and for the students to test their own understanding of what's been going on.
Yeah, and that seems to be the vibe of this site. Is it's really just trying to engage students in reading, in visiting weekly, checking out the latest stories. Like I see a story on Mr. Beast right there and M&M mascots. So that there's a lot of things that students may be discussing on their own that they can get a different perspective on, which is handy. But then you combine it with like Black History Month content and other kinds of trending political news. It's a nice mix, I think.
Right. And it seems trendy. Like uh, I like looking at it. So I feel like it's something that students would also like to look at. Like these stories, this format, I feel like is really compelling for students, and something that not all news sites offer. So I think like the way that they try to appeal to kids seems really successful to me.
Yeah, you can see, teachers coming into a classroom, they're being a kind of buzz around a particular thing that's happening, and just being able to pull up a slideshow or a quick article that frames a discussion that maybe you can use as a transitional moment into some of your curriculum. Like that's, I think, where this really comes in handy, or as a place a trusted place you can send your students to do some reading in the kind of margins of a classroom when they're,
Sure.
off, when they finished early or something along those lines.
Right. I agree. And another thing that they do is when when they post these videos, like short explainer videos, they also source student opinions on those to say like, okay, so this is about anxiety, the way that it functions. And then they'll ask the student, how do you deal with those feelings? And then the student is able to share. And then those can be posted to the site, like I said, somewhat anonymously, just so that you get that student opinion as well in there. There's one more thing that I wanted to get to. Another cool thing that they do is have these panel discussions, which also seems like something that's relatively new, where students are able to sign up to actually attend and have discussions with students like around the world who are like having a conversation on a particular relevant topic. So this one is on reconciliation between Indigenous groups and like the local government. And then they invite student participants to speak on the panel, and then also invite like a student audience to attend, which I think is a nice way to bring the news into like reality for a lot of students.
Yeah, and this would be great even from, an American perspective, kind of broadening students' perspectives, right? To kind of like understand how Canada's approaching Indigenous rights issues versus how the United States is, doing, and that kind of kicking off comparative analysis would be really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So putting this in the mix, even if you are teaching in the United States, putting this site in the mix and doing some of that comparison across countries would be really, I think, a good lesson.
For sure. And like I said, with these interactive elements that they try to get to, so here they source questions that the question is essentially, we'll pull it up here. I guess any reconciliation questions that people have, but that you can list your school name and kind of a group question, like what is something that your students are thinking about right now? Maybe it's something where you pull this up in a classroom and have them give you ideas, and then you select one question that you want to add here, and then it would be really cool if they then ask that question in the panel when you watch it at a later date. So I think that's a nice touch. Cool.
Great.
Anything else that I didn't get to, Tanner?
I think you've covered it.
Nice. All
So
right.
that's CBC Kids News. There's the URL if you want to go check that out. And of course, join us here at this channel every week. Make sure to subscribe. We'll see you next week.